You've had a chance to know the concept of social need and the different areas where we can generate positive social impact, which is the raison d'être of all social business. Now we will enter the tool that will enable long-term sustainable and positive social impact, the business model. First, however, it is important to identify what is the business concept that we want to implement. To advance the construction of our business model, it is imperative that previously we have answered a number of questions. What model of governance do we want to establish? Will workers be co-owners of the social business? Do you want to implement a vertical or a horizontal structure? What will be our organizational culture? These are all questions that help us set our global model of social business, which is necessarily affect the business model. To begin developing this business model in the first place, it is important to identify a business opportunity, a space in the market covered or not half covered. The most important thing to know, if this is a business opportunity, is to identify the added value that we can provide with respect to existing solutions for a given problem. For this task, it is important to observe deeply and make questions about the problem. Once we determine that there is a business opportunity, it's time to develop this business model. Every company relies on a model of what we call economic viability of business model. It is defined as how the company captures, creates, and delivers value. If we stand firm in the field of classical business, the value we are talking about is the economic kind. However, in the context of social business, the economic value must always be accompanied by social, environmental, and/or cultural value. In order to discover how we can build business models to transform social needs, we will use a tool called Canvas. Through this painting and its 9 dimensions closely interrelated lays the basis for future social business. There are many ways to explain how to structure a business model with positive social impact. We have chosen ones very practical. Using real-life examples of social businesses, we will see how business viability and social impact can go hand in hand and reinforce each other. First, identify our customer segments, groups of people or organizations who run our value proposition. It is important to be concise in defining our clients, identifying their main features. Additionally, within the category of customers, we differentiate between users, those who use the product or service you offer, payers, those who are willing to pay for that product or service, and opinion leaders, those who must necessarily convince our value proposition in order to get it to users and payers. In some business models, they coincide, while others will differentiate them. We'll see now the case of the social business Urban Time, born under the umbrella of a social entity, the Hermina Foundation, with the mission to promote continuous training of young people at risk of social exclusion through a first job opportunity in educational leisure sector. Urban Time distinguishes between 5 key customer segments: schools, prescribers; families, payers; children and young people, users; public administration, payers; and large companies, payers again. In the choice of the customer segments, there is implicit a balance between economic sustainability and social impact. To provide quality employment for young people, it is necessary to develop stable and continuing activities, the ones offered to schools and public administration. However, such activities generate very tight margin that makes difficult the sustainability of the social business. So they need to find a client with the ability to pay a higher price for an activity with added value. Those clients are large companies that buy sporadically but generate higher margins. Once we have identified our customer segments, it is time to define for each of them the value proposition that we do. That means what benefits transmits the lead to get our products or services. It is not just define the product or service, but to highlight the intangible values transmitted. We'll see now the case of a social business called Lauro, a farm school whose mission is to provide educational and leisure spaces for children and young people with special educational needs. It is the first leisure house in Spain designed and built from the ground specifically for this group of people. The value proposition that Lauro makes to its clients happens because both users, children and youth, and prescribers, monitors, feel happy and live an enjoyable and fun experience at the school farm, a place that takes care of all the details so that people with special educational needs can feel at home. As you see, segments and customer value proposition are closely linked. Through these two dimensions, we will explore how to transmit this value to various target audiences. Firstly, you must identify for each customer group which channels of communication, distribution, and marketing you will use to promote and deliver the value proposition. Next, define what relationship you will keep with the different segments. We will see now the case of the social business Moltacta, which mission is to improve the quality of life of people with mental health problems through work. Moltacta launches outlet stores and manages certain brands of the firm Inditex, generating jobs. In this case, the choice of a business model that includes the physical store as the main channel is not fortuitous. Moltacta searches not only labor inclusion of people with mental health problems, but also social inclusion. The physical store as a channel requires a direct and personal relationship with the customer, thus maximizing the social impact expected. So far, we have defined the value we generate, to whom we deliver, and how we do it. Now, it is time to identify the different methods through which we can capture value for our social business. If we place ourselves in the context of social businesses, we see that there are two different kinds of value we can import: economic value and social value, knowledge, experience, social support. In order to illustrate this, we will see the case of the social business COP57. COP57 is a service cooperative whose mission is to facilitate access to financing for projects in the social and solidarity economy. The main source of economic value is savings. All individuals and organizations that deposit their savings in COP57 are members of the cooperative and, therefore, have voice and vote in the decision-making. This is another source of value, the social support, which allows the project to strengthen and improve collectively. Now we enter the innermost part of the business model, how social business generates the expected value. Therefore, it is necessary to identify the key activities of our social business, those through which we guarantee the added value of our project. We'll see now the case of the social business L'Olivera, a non-profit cooperative whose mission is to generate social integration through the development of a project linking land, people, and productive economy. They produce high-quality wines and olive oils to create opportunities for people, especially people with mental health problems. The productive branch lives with the care of those people who, due to circumstances, can no longer work. Therefore, we identify two key activities in its business model, which mix economic sustainability and social impact: the cultivation of grapes and olives on the one hand, and social care for all people in need of the cooperative on the other hand. Once we have identified our key activities, it is time to determine what are the key essential resources we need to develop these activities. Now we will explain the case of Grameen Danone, a social business of Bangladesh created in partnership between the Grameen Group, linked to Professor Yunus, and Danone. Grameen Danone produces a yogurt that contains all the nutrients a child needs during the day and sells at a price affordable to the poorest families in rural Bangladesh. In order to develop this product, it was essential to have the key resource of knowledge, intangible, and have the necessary tools to develop innovative formulas at very low cost, tangible. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to make this solution available to the most disadvantaged people. Therefore, the main resources that could not lack under any circumstances in order for the business model to work were experience and a laboratory. What should we consider in this case? The cost that may involve center key resources if we need to acquire them. The calculation of these elements will allow us to define the investment need of the social business. Now it's time to think about those people and organizations that can help us strengthen our economic viability and/or maximize our positive social impact. The key allies can help us in the development of our key activities, in obtaining the necessary key resources, and in reaching our customer segments. It is also important to think about what can we offer them in return. For a partnership to be established, the two parties have to draw some benefit, either material or intangible. We'll see now Espigulados, a social business that combats food waste while empowering people at risk of social exclusion in a transformative, participatory, inclusive and sustainable way. Espigulados elaborate jams, cream and cheeses from wasted product. To sell their products, as imperfect, Espigulados has established a strategic alliance with other social businesses that produce complementary products, uniting them all under a single trademark, generating a scale economy and benefiting all parties. We have almost completed our business model. Finally, it is time to define our cost structure. That means we have to identify those elements that represent an important weight in our current spending: people, supplies, rentals, purchase of raw materials, etc. To illustrate this, we will see the case of La Falleda Social Business that prepare yogurts and has the mission to create jobs for people with mental health problems in the region of La Garrocha. And we will compare the case with the one of the social business Urban Time, which we have previously known. While La Falleda has great facilities and machinery, supplies and maintenance represent two cost items with significant weight in the cost structure. The main cost of Urban Time, which is a service company, is its staff. It is important to note also that as social businesses, it is very possible that we assume additional costs in order to generate the positive social impact expected. Specialized staff, psychologists and social workers, for example, local and organic raw materials, are some of the elements that can increase expenditure items. Once the business model with positive social impact has been generated, it's time to validate the different hypotheses that we have been doing. How our potential customers are willing to pay the value that we offer. Seems appropriate our value proposition? The channels we have chosen are the most appropriate? What about the relationships we want to establish? To find out, we can use surveys and interviews, and the information we obtain will be useful to iterate our business model. That means we will have to adjust it to the reality of the market. As we see, the business model is dynamic and will change depending on the context.